and welcome to the Writing Gals. We are live tonight with our husbands on the show tonight. This is going to be an awesome episode. And I will start by introducing my husband. This is Charles. And I will let the other Writing Gals introduce their husbands. So, Amy, do you want to start?
Oh, I'm unmuted.
You go, Judy.
Okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Jared, my husband. Yeah, he's awesome.
I'm Jared.
Yep.
And this is my husband, Sean.
Hello.
I never know if I'm muted. This is my husband, Ethan.
can
We're celebrating our 19th wedding anniversary this month. Isn't that kind of funny? I was just thinking about that for the show.
That's really cool.
Congratulations.
Awesome. So tonight we have all these questions about our husbands. Do we want to go over what we've been working on, or we just want to jump in and talk about our husbands?
You guys, let the guys take it.
Let's let the guys take over. What have you guys been working on?
I've been working on maintaining a household while you went on the Writing Excuses cruise and you went to the writing conference in Florida and.
Yes, you've been awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and jump right in. And Charles has agreed to be moderator tonight for me. So he's going to go ahead and start by reading our first question.
All right. So Stephanie wants to know, have the husbands read their wives' work? And I can go first and say no. There's two reasons for that. One is I'm probably not that much into romance, but the other is I have a unique condition called delayed convergence. So my eyes don't focus on words. When I read, I see the beginning of the word and the end of the word. And from the context, my mind has to fill in what that word probably is. And so reading is really laborious for me and it takes me a long time. So I'm an audiobook kind of guy. How about you, other husbands?
Audiobooks are good.
Yeah.
So I read, I was kind of the first editor, I guess you could say, of Judy's first book. And I kind of have a traumatic experience from giving feedback from that. And so I haven't read much of the book since then.
Well, he remembers it very differently than me. I was just fine. No, so he's read 2 of my books.
Yeah, I read 2.
Yeah.
Sean, how about you?
Wow. No.
Yes, you have.
Kind of.
You have the whole thing.
What? Oh, okay. So Amy wrote a kid's book a long time ago.
You read my middle grade book.
And it was okay. It's a kid's book. So but I've listened to a lot of like behind the scenes.
Yeah, he was always listening to our critique groups.
And over the years I've been like, wow, that sounds like
2 years.
A couple years. Like wow, that sounds really professional. So like she's come a long way, gotten very good. No, I haven't.
You should have him write your blurbs. Oh, it was okay. She's come a long way.
Her first story, I remember way back in the trailer, not very good at all, like humorous. But now she's talented.
But now Sean's writing his own book, so I get to have all of these first experiences with him.
Humble pie. I'm sure it'll suck. Maybe my 8th book will be adequate, but. Yeah. I keep telling I'll read them if you die and I'm a widow. I'll have hundreds of books to read. I'll feel super close to you. I'm saving them for the back end.
Yeah. Ethan, how about you?
I have read 1 book. Reading is not a strong suit of mine, so I've read 1 of her books and probably, and even that one maybe glossed over some of it. Some of the gushy, cheesy stuff. I was on a plane and I couldn't sleep, and so she had downloaded one of the Christmas ones to my Kindle app, and I decided to read it while on a plane. Got through it, but it was tough.
You should write her blurbs too.
The writing was good. The writing was good. It was good, but it's just not my thing.
I got this surprise text when it got to one of the romantic scenes.
Yeah.
And he's like, is he taking his shirt off? And I was like, hold on, this is where it gets good. Just keep going.
No, I probably after that.
To clarify, that's I'm a clean writer, so I wasn't too worried
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah. No, I wasn't worried
obviously.
about that, but it was just a little on the cheesy side.
Yeah. All right. So our next question comes to us from Lee Wynn, and she wants to know who is more romantic, the husbands or the writing gals. Sean, you want to take that one first?
Ouch. Yeah, I'm not very romantic at all. I'm lacking in that department. So maybe I'm just like an antithesis for Amy's book. Sean would never do this.
He
I'm gonna
worked
put this
really
in.
hard one time to find me a picture frame. That's what he bought me. And I was like,
I thought it was a nice gesture. Put my picture, take it to college, put it on your desk while you're working. No. Why did you give me this picture frame? I don't know. I'm stupid. I don't know.
No. Ethan, how about you?
I think oddly enough, I would say it's me. Would you agree?
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
Weird, but it's me. I think by far, actually.
Okay.
All right.
by far. You're like way
I've
in
been
the
keeping
distance,
track.
Michelle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd agree with that.
Yep.
Funny.
All right. Jared, are you the romance?
I would definitely say that. Yes.
All right. Excellent. Well, we're 2 for 2 because that's not me. I proposed in the bathroom, so if that gives you any kind of clue on how far off I am from romance, that's.
But you're sweet.
Well, that's good. I'm sweet.
It was sincere.
It was.
Yeah. All right. Meryl sends us our next question. When your wives started their first book, what was your thought process? Were you thinking, this woman is crazy, she wants to write a book? Or were you thinking, heck yes, lady, follow your dreams, go get to it? Jared, what happened with you?
I thought it was cool. I mean, at the time she started writing, I was doing kind of sales in the evenings, and so she was kind of writing just on her own time. And I was like, oh, that's cool. You want to do that? Like, go for it. That's cool. So,
Yeah. How about you, Ethan?
Sorry, let me unmute myself before. No, I think it was probably a little bit of both. I would say on this one.
He married me knowing what he was getting into.
I mean, I knew her dream of writing when we were dating, and so, but at the same time, it's so far fetched for me personally to write a book, and so it seemed kind of crazy, and the way that she can crank them out now, it's just crazy for me to think of because I struggle to write a paragraph in an email. So it was probably a little bit of both for me, actually.
Yeah. How about for you, Sean?
ADD. Repeat the question for me, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah. When your wife wrote her first book, were you thinking, dude, this is cool? Or were you thinking, whoa, she's wackadoodle?
You know, I was supportive. Like she had told me it was one of her goals that she had from like when she was a teenager. So I thought it was cool. Also, she likes to shop. So I'm like, if she's not writing, she's not shopping.
I'm
So
writing on this.
I can get behind this. So,
Yeah. So in our situation, we were busy running a business together, and Victorine actually hurt her back when she was taking our daughter out of her car seat and was in bed for a couple of weeks and got bored and started writing a book. And I'm not sure if I even really noticed at the time. I was so busy running the business without her. So I was probably not supportive, but I wasn't a heckler either. So that's a good thing. Well, let's move on to Amanda. Amanda's beginning of her question was really similar to what Meryl asked, but she had some additional things she was curious about. Was the writing something that you had talked about before? Did it come out of the blue? Some of us answered that a little bit, but how did you feel when the writing started making a profit? And what has worked for you as far as balancing both of your schedules and your family? So we can maybe take the latter part of that question. What happened when it started making money, and how did you balance life? Sean, you want to take that one?
Man, that's a tough question. Like I don't even know if I can come up with the right answer for that. Like it's been a grind trying to find balance since probably day one, I would say. Like,
Yeah.
I'm self-employed. I own like a small printing business, and so work from home. And my kids inherited some of my genetic makeup, so they're kind of crazy and loud and hard to, like a pack of wolves, unruly, and so like it's not really conducive to writing, and like there's like messes that you're constantly walking, cleaning up, and so even though
I'm sitting at my desk writing, I look out the window and our 4-year-old is running across the yard with spray paint in his hand, and I'm looking, where's your dad in all of this? John,
there's 5 of them, so it's like you could be taking care of a couple of them, and then they just, so it's tough. And so like you might be stressed and like, where are you? I know you could stop writing. Come here and help me. And so it can be tough. But like I think Amy's always been really good at being like cost benefit. Like, hey, I'm at a hobby stage in my writing career. I'm only making a little bit of profit. I can't quite go at this like a full-time job. And so like as she kept making more and more money, like I obviously kept giving her more and more support, like obviously now she does better than I do. So like I have to be supportive. But
so how did you feel when I started making a profit?
Like demasculated, you mean? Or like like when you started making a profit?
No, you feel demasculated.
Oh, just horrible. Keep myself. No, her money is my money. Get rich. I don't want to work anymore.
He told me when I first said I wanted to do writing, that whatever I made writing, I could spend.
Well, that was going off the trailer book, the one that was like not very good. I was like, man,
I always remind him of
you keep whatever you want.
I always remind him of that.
You make an
He
extra.
said I could spend whatever I made writing on whatever I wanted to. And I was like, no, you can't do that anymore.
But it sounds like Sean's happy to live in a community property state, right?
We used to live in a trailer, okay?
Yeah.
That was a part of our life back in the day.
Yeah.
But I've been supportive. She made it easy for me, like spouse wise. Like she wasn't, taking a ton of time or money. She was like writing when the kids were in bed, or she's pretty flexible in that regard. And then as things got more demanding, like we had to make some changes. But at that point, like it was financially made sense to kind of be more supportive. So yeah.
How about for you, Jared?
Yeah, I thought it was awesome when it started making money. It's like, sweet, this hobby's making money better than anything else I've ever done. This is sweet.
No.
But there was a part where I kind of was demasculated as well, and that came at a point where I just quit a job, and then I was kind of like in this limbo stage of like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing next. And Judy's like, hey, well, my books are making enough to pay the bills. How about you play stay-at-home dad for the next while, and we'll see how this goes. And so we did that for about a year, and it worked out pretty good. She's able to write a bunch more, and I was able to kind of manage the household, which was an adventure.
Nice for me. I didn't have to do laundry.
Yeah, but recently, so that's kind of one way we balanced on the opposite end, because it was more hobby, like in the evenings and stuff, but then it became like that was the sole income of the family, which was kind of hard for me. Just I don't know, growing up, whereas the man is the breadwinner, it was kind of hard to kind of step back and just manage the house. But then after a while, I was like, this isn't bad. Like there's nothing wrong with her making money. I think this is cool. But I'm not going to say that there wasn't some demasculinization or whatever you said. That happened a little bit. And right now, I just recently got back in the workforce again. And so we've been trying to manage that. And I'm also starting a small business as of this week. And so I'm trying to manage starting a business as well as my full-time job, as well as Judy writing. So we're kind of
and we have 4
working that out.
kids, and so it's just trying to figure out a new
balance.
So
we're in the middle of figuring out a new balance.
Our house is a mess right now, pretty much. We finally had dinner as a family tonight for the first time all week, and it was pizza. So
So Ethan, how did it hit you when your wife started making big bucks with the books?
I'm with the other guys. I'm like, this is pretty awesome. I never, there's always this skepticism early on that, I don't know, if this is going to make money. I've never met anybody that made any money doing this. So it never really dawned on me that there was that kind of income out there for writers like this. And so, yeah, when that started coming in, it was a big surprise and cool for her, because I know that, this has been her dream since she was a little girl. And so, and just to make money doing a hobby and doing something you love was always cool for me to see. And then as far as balancing, workload and things, we try to ensure that we don't overschedule ourselves with our children. We try to ensure that, if they're in activities, it's kind of one thing at a time. We have 4 children, and so life is busy and crazy. We've probably done more takeout and pizza over the last year or so than we ever have before, just because of craziness and things going on.
But that's usually more to do with like soccer and things like that than with my writing.
Yeah. It's more to do with what's going on with our children versus the writing. Michelle's done a good job at ensuring that her writing doesn't get in the way of a lot of things. Like Sean said, writing late at night doesn't get in the way of the children. And so, it's been really good. But
yeah. So my answer to this kind of fits in with Julie's question. Julie asks, have you quit your job because of your wife's success as an author? Or would you like to? Or have you been able to scale back your hours? Do you feel her income is taking pressure off your shoulders? And kind of like Jared got to stay home for a year. I haven't been the stay-at-home dad, but I have been able to go to work for a nonprofit organization and do work that I really believe in, and feel like my work is making a difference in people's lives that are disadvantaged and that need something a little extra. And so to me, that's been a great blessing to be able to rely on the writing income to keep working for this nonprofit and helping it grow. Any of the other Mr. Writing Gals want to take on the would you quit your job if you could?
Yeah, I'll take this one. I would love to quit my job. But in all seriousness, I've been blessed with a great job for the last 15 years for the same company. Very steady, close to home, very
with
convenient,
insurance and benefits,
with great benefits, great vacation. They've treated me well. I lots of flexibility, so it's been really good in that regard. But it would be great to do something. I sit behind a desk all day, looking at numbers and looking at computer screens, and so it would be great to do something that I truly, truly love. Do something else at some point, and so that's kind of our goal is to maybe work at this company for a few more years, and perhaps if the salary is there with Michelle, then to maybe look at doing something else. But
you think you go chase storms or announce baseball games?
Yeah. Love to do something that I truly love to do. Again, I've liked what I've done, but it's kind of to the point now is that maybe it's time to do something different. But I know that pay cuts would be involved in doing that, and so we just have to get to the point to be able to take that cut and move on and do something else.
I'm very mindful of the fact that I'm doing a job that I chose and that I love, and he's doing a job that he doesn't necessarily love, but it pays the bills. So there's a whole different, dynamic in his job and how he feels going to work every day. And I would love for him to have the same kind of joy and passion about what he's doing that I have. So that's definitely a goal of ours as a couple.
Yeah. Jared or Sean, you want to take that on, or you feel like you answered that already?
I feel like I kind of answered it. We're almost kind of like forced into the situation because of how things went. Where I was a stay-at-home dad. Right now, I'm kind of starting a business, and I'm kind of excited. It's like a service-based, like kind of like a handyman type thing, and I find a lot of joy in repairing things and seeing things look nice and better than they were when I got there. So I like having that fulfillment of like, hey, I'm doing something productive, like I'm contributing. So I think, I could definitely scale back and not do as much, but I think there is value in work. It feels good to contribute.
Yeah. How about Sean?
You
feel like you?
Yeah, sure. Early retirement. Bring it on.
Well, we're both self-employed, so we kind of have to do all that stuff anyways. And I think for us, it's more, let's get financially settled before he takes any big leap out of the job he's in right now. But he's definitely not happy in what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't know, like upbringing, dig ditches if you have to, do what you got to do to pay the bills. Like, it's not really about like personal satisfaction. It's about like providing. And so, there's a lot of work days or a lot of late nights where you're like, wow, this sucks. Just ripped my fingernails out right now. But it pays good. And like I said, I work from home, so I see the family a lot, which can be good. Sometimes it's bad, but.
Well, and I think as us writers, like Michelle touched on it, where like we are, even days that I'm miserable doing what I'm doing, Like it's still my passion and my joy, and it's hard to see your spouse not feel that same way about what they're doing. So
Yeah.
I'm always like, whatever you want, we'll try. Whatever you want to try, we'll do it. Just not till we pay our house off. So
Yeah.
then we can do whatever you want.
All right.
Yeah,
Our
like,
next.
I'm proud of her.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's all right. Go ahead.
So for our next viewer, if I mispronounce your name, I apologize. I'm thinking it's Sneha. And Sneha asked, my husband wants to know how to help through the this is awful and no one will read it moments. For me, I was lucky in that early on in her career, Victorine found Critique Circle and went on and was posting chapters and getting advice from people who were more experienced writers. And her period of time where things stung was really short. And she really did learn to take those criticisms well and to just work to improve her work. She didn't have a long period of time where she took things personally. And so by looking at it as a business from the very beginning, she's just a very business-minded woman. That made it easy on me. There weren't a whole lot of, oh, woe is me, people hate my stuff. It was great. How about for you, Jared? You said you were the first editor, and you kind of got some of those moments.
Yeah. So, I assume this is like this is awful. No one will read it moments. I think that happens. I assume they're talking about like when this like she comes like, oh, this is my work right now. I'm working on it. It's so terrible, and it happens about once a week. So we just kind of work with it. It's like, no, it's not. Like it's just one of those days. Just having a bad day. Just wait till tomorrow, and then usually that's when like a breakthrough or something will happen, or like some great idea that will come to her as she's like in the woe is me kind of thing, or the next day, and she comes out of it. So.
I can be quite dramatic at times. But you know, it's good for books. You like drama.
I know. You can put all that emotion in your book and you're good to go. You just have to deal with the backlash and the extra parts.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sean, does Anne Marie ever get all, oh, nobody's going to want to read this. It's horrible.
Yeah, and Sean likes to keep me humble. So he's like, yeah, it's probably terrible. You should go fix it.
I can be brutally honest. Like I that's probably like springs up some from personal issues on my part. Not less to do with her, more to do with me. But like,
yeah, there are other writers that are better than you. So you're probably right. I'm like, okay, I'll go fix it.
I'm just kind of like, if you sugarcoat it, you're never gonna fix it. You're really not. And like, you're only gonna be bad if you quit. And like, if you keep going, you're gonna get better. And like, it's the people that give up are the people that never improve. And like, I don't look at writing, and this is really ignorant on my part because I'm not a writer, but I don't.
So if you're a person who doesn't like to fail at things, then I guess having a spouse react that way is probably a positive thing. However, if you're not the type of person, don't do it, because it says, how do you help with it? You probably you kind of have to know your personality.
Tear them down more until they find it deep within themselves to push forward. I don't know.
Yeah, Judy would not like it if I did that. That would not go over well at all.
I'm so used to it now. I'm just like, that's not what I need.
Yeah, but I get your point. I mean,
fine, I need that.
You can't edit a blank page, right? So if you don't get started and you don't work on it, you know, you may have to start with some hooey on the page and make it better. That's better than blank, right? So
I don't know though. How many people go backwards, right? Like they write like, yeah, maybe like one book might be worse than the previous, but if you've written 7 books, like I don't think your 7th is going to be worse than your 1st. Right. And I hope your 12th is better than your 3rd, your 4th. So
this would be the goal.
I'm ignorant. I'm going to shut up. Pass the mic to Ethan or Charles. Don't listen to me.
All right, Ethan, tell us the story.
No, I was just sitting here thinking, and we were chuckling that I don't think Michelle's had one of those moments. Maybe she's just extremely confident. I don't know what it is. I was just trying to think. I don't know that she's ever come to me and say people are going to hate my work or something. However, she does.
Michelle's so good. We don't even have these problems.
I complain to them about my writing, and I couldn't.
But she does read out about bad reviews. She does tell me about those, and so I have to bring her back down and just say, you know, you can't. it's impossible to get all, perfect reviews or great reviews. Nobody's ever been able to do that. And so you can't please everybody with your work. We all know that. And so she just has to be reminded of that on occasion, and then she's usually fine. So
Eventually, I get over it.
eventually she gets over it.
Yeah. So Jay's question for us kind of ties into this a little bit. Jay's wondering what changes have we noticed from before our wives made a career out of writing to now. And I would say for Victorine, I've seen her grow in confidence, and I really have liked seeing that strengthening that she has as a person. One thing that has not changed is her heart. She goes out of her way to help people, and is really thoughtful in helping bring people along. Now, it's interesting that there are people who ask for help, and she'll try to help them, and they don't want to hear what she's saying, and she just has to say, okay, then good luck. And but for people who are really serious about either the craft of writing or the business of writing, she's right there with them, and so that's really wonderful to see. Let's go to Sean. What changes have you seen in your bride since she's become this famous author?
I don't know about like personality changes or anything like that, but I think maybe an opportunity to reveal a little bit more of her tenacity. Like Amy's always been kind of a not a quitter, like a hard worker, and like as she's like pursued writing and worked harder at it, like it's really proved that she's not a quitter, that she can do hard things. And so like that's something I've always noticed about her, but like she's kind of reaffirmed that or proved that. And like also I think like maybe inspired others to like take risks and do things that maybe other people may think they can't do. Like she talks to a lot of people about writing, or about like just going after your dream and not giving up. And I think that's really cool. So that's something I think has been revealed more over the years that she's been writing. So
yeah. How about for you, Jared?
I'm trying to think of stuff. I think like Sean said, I think Judy has shown she's really tenacious and can really like work through difficult things, and I think that's helped her confidence a lot, especially like when she has people like that'll email her, like different fans and stuff, and be like, "I love your book, like this changed my life," or because she's had fans who have said that, and it's really cool to see how she just lights up and just loves that. She's happier and more stressed depending on the day, and also depending on what I'm doing. So, those are a couple of things that I've noticed.
Ethan, have you noticed any changes?
Yeah, I would echo those comments. It's always cool for me to see people who chase their dreams and will stop at nothing to achieve what they want to achieve, and Michelle's done that. Knowing her for more than half of her life, just knowing that she's chased her dreams and made it, and that's really cool. And there's not a lot of people that I know who can say that they've done that. And so for her to be able to do that, and the happiness that she feels because of that, it strengthens me, and I know it strengthens the people around her. And so that's been really cool to see. It's probably the coolest thing. The biggest difference, I'd say, confidence level, believing in herself, where probably that's been a big struggle in the past. Mm-hmm. Her being able to do that easier and believing in herself has been a big change that I've seen.
No, he hasn't noticed the house getting cleaner yet. Like it's getting
cleaner.
I think it's getting better.
Kids are getting older, yeah.
So is the goal to earn enough with writing to be able to hire a cleaning service?
We do.
She has.
Yeah.
I think our biggest goal we talked about in Neek that we didn't tell you guys that like we're each gonna buy a cabin somewhere that we're just gonna rotate inside of it. So
we're all gonna have a vacation home of some type, and then we're just gonna move around.
Oh, okay.
And go visit everybody's place.
All right.
Which sounds like we're gonna have to really twist your guys' arms to do that.
Yeah. Just put it on the lake.
Poor Charles. He doesn't know that he wants to derail the conversation and go off on tangents. And he's all like,
All right. So let's take another question for Jay. What is the hardest or most challenging part of being married to a writer? Gosh, for me, I would say that when Victorine is writing a lot, she'll sit down and she'll be like, I need story. I need input. And she, input is not deal or no deal or, some of the things I like to watch. Her input needs to be those romantic stories, the Hallmark Channel, that type of thing, which I have to admit, there's a few of those that a guy can swallow. But sometimes when I just want to watch Chips or something and we have to write watch a romantic comedy because she needs her input, that can be a little sad. But, then the Amazon payment comes in. I'm like, okay, it's worth it. So. All right, Sean, how about for you? What's the most challenging thing about being married to a writer?
Twofold. I think both people being self-employed and then having to balance family is really difficult because I guess you could maybe make an argument that writing could be consistent. Hey, I wake up every morning at a certain time and I just this is the time I lock myself in my office and I get it done. But I think, you kind of write when you feel inspiration or write when you're not exhausted. Sometimes more of the story comes out quicker, sometimes slower. And so that's not always necessarily consistent for us at our house. And then my business is really constant talking. Anyway.
About writing.
Yeah, we'd go out.
Can we talk about something else now?
So I before I kept getting injured and getting old all the time, I used to love working out, and I would Amy would listen about the weightlifting. I would just chat their ear off, and Amy would get mad at parties and be like, "Just shut up, people don't want to hear it." And anyway, when we go out, that's how she gets about right. I'm like, now you know what it's like. That's what you do to me. But anyway, now that I've tried to write a book, now I have to be a lot more tolerant of her writing.
Because he wants to talk about writing all the time.
Yeah,
but he doesn't write romance. So I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting. And most of the time I'm like, just write it and I'll read it. Okay. And then I'll tell you what I think about it.
Then I just waste the words right in the wrong direction. Anyway, no. So that's one hard part, scheduling. And I think the other, I don't know, the other hard part. Anyway, that's it. We're just going to leave it at that. Moving on.
No, I want to know what you were going to say now.
The viewers probably
we'll come
want
back
to know
to
too.
it. Until there's courage. We'll come back.
All right. Let's see if Jared can get himself in trouble with his answer here.
What's the hardest thing or most challenging part about being married to a writer?
Yeah.
Probably just the emotional ups and downs that she goes through as she's trying to figure stuff out. That honestly is probably the hardest part, is just one day man, things are going great, I'm figuring stuff out, and the next day it's man, this sucks, I'm gonna quit kind of thing. So it's just trying to all right, where are we at today? Let's but that's probably the hardest thing, which is not super challenging, but that's probably one of the harder things.
I just care so much about my stories,
It's true. She
Yeah.
Passionate.
really does.
It's like birthing a baby, right?
Yeah, they're my babies.
Yeah. How about for you, Ethan? What's challenging about
I
being
told
married
him
to a
he
writer?
had to preview his answer and he didn't take me up on it. So buckle up.
I don't know.
We keep things real, Michelle, remember?
Yeah. I would say probably just the differences in personality. I'm not a creative guy really at all. And so I don't know, but maybe that's why things work for us, is that we are so different. But that's been challenging at times, is that I feel like I maybe can't help her because I don't have the creative mind necessarily. I think a lot differently than her. And so
you don't understand why I can't just shut off that part of my brain.
Yeah, I'm a little more black and white, not creative. And so maybe that's been difficult our whole marriage, is the differences in personality. But I'd say that's probably the most
Financial
difficult.
discussions have been tricky sometimes.
Yeah, financial discussions have been tricky at times. Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's
What to
not just
do.
family finances,
Yeah.
it's also business finances and the crossing back and forth between them and opinions on how that should be managed.
Yeah.
That can be really tricky.
Because she takes all my money and then she keeps all of hers. So.
That is not true.
Doggone.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Kidding, totally kidding.
You should have started out right away by saying, "Hey, Ethan, anything I make writing gets to be mine, right?" And then that was back when your spouses were like, "Yeah, sure,
Sure.
we're not gonna do anything with this."
That used to be
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
It was like my hobby income, and I got to do what I wanted to. And I'd usually do like family trips with it or something like that. Like save up my income from the whole year and do like one little trip with it or something. And then all of a sudden it became something like,
it
well,
kinda blew up.
this is an amount that we need to discuss as a couple and make better choices with it. And so it becomes the me needing to invest in the business and us also needing money for family stuff. And so that's just a constant, talking about balance. It's that balance between what the family needs and what my business needs. And, since you guys are familiar with the self-employment thing, that's always a tricky conversation.
Yeah, the book bub ad or the tires for the van. Yeah, that type of thing.
Well, and that's probably a good question to even ask, because I think that's something a lot of couples don't discuss. And I don't think I saw that as a question. So maybe we can pose it now to our husbands. Like, how do you deal with your wife's income, but not only that, but her discussing, I need money for my business, where you see problems that you say, well, no, we need to, get a book, but we need to get new tires, but we have a book. Like, how would you advise a spouse out there to, we're doing some relationship therapy right here. Like, this is how we deal with it. This is how you should.
I don't know if I'll go, I guess. For me, I guess you got to stop looking at you need to stop looking at yourself as being successful as a writer, not like from a financial standpoint. Like, obviously, if you've got lots of readers and you're making lots of money, that's awesome. And that means you're writing good books and people care. But like, if you're only making, let's say, $4,000 a month or something, but you're having to spend money on ads and stuff, then you're like a farmer. You've got tons of overhead and your take home is really low, which is fine. And, it's a job and it's a career, but you got to stop looking at like, hey, all that money being deposited in the account is your money. Well, not really, because if you stop advertising, then you're going to stop getting new readers and you're going to stop growing. So maybe stop looking at it as like the money getting put in is really my money. You really got to look at it like a farmer. Like, I've got all this overhead, and really what I come home with at the end of the day isn't that impressive, even though like my business might be worth $1 million, tractors and turbines and diesel.
Well, and we had the experience of living off self-employment for a while. So it was basically like money that comes in, you pay your taxes, and then we tie it to our local church. And then it's like whatever we need to cover for the business stays out. And we've learned to live off of just whatever gets put into our bank account, instead of, we see that bigger number, but we also know we can't live off that bigger number. We have to live off of whatever we can get rid of. Whatever's left over from the pot is what we live off of.
And I don't know, like, maybe this is a little arrogant, but like we suffered for a long time in the trailer we're awesome. We're financially amazing.
The trailer comes back again.
Yeah. We lived in
a nice trailer.
It was the nicest trailer.
Really nice.
We made some sacrifices and got out of debt, and then once Amy was starting to be more successful, we were able to take a little bit of that money and reinvest it without pressure. Like, we didn't have to maybe make the decision to put tires on the van.
It was hard though. Like, when I first started advertising 2 years ago with my Cinderheart and Ferris one, I was like, so can I have some money to advertise? Because I'm making it back, but I won't see it for 60 days.
Like, we had to sell our souls to get out of debt. And so when Amy was like, we want to take like a third of our emergency fund and invest it in ads, I was like, that was like a huge moment for me to be like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
But you did it.
Yeah, and I know it's horrible to say, but I kind of looked at it as like I love you money, here you go. I'm probably never going to see this back. Don't you have that in your
marriages where you're like, well, you made this stupid mistake and cost us a ton of money, and therefore this is my stupid mistake that's going to cost us a ton of money? That's how Sean and I look at things.
Yeah, so
it's probably not the healthiest.
But
you messed up. Now this is.
But I think the temptation is like when you're making good money. When you're making good money, you want to think of it like as your money, but really like you're still early in your writing career, and you should really be taking that money and rolling it back in. Otherwise, you're going to just kind of stay where you've always been, which may be fine for some people. But if you want to look at it as like a career that grows, then you need more readers, and that sometimes you have to advertise for that. So,
well, I think your farm analogy is a great one, right? If you're going to reap the harvest, you have to have the seed and the fertilizer and all of those inputs. And I think we were at an advantage because we ran our own business too, and we knew, if you're going to sell something at the end, you need to buy the raw materials to make it happen. And because Victorina's wired as a businesswoman, I know that she's done her research before she comes and says, I want to spend $86 million on this thing. She's going to be able to say, here are 5 other people who spent a similar amount of money, and here's what they made in the end. And there's no guarantee that you're going to ride the same wave that other people did.
Right.
But she's not just throwing darts in the dark. When she comes with a plan, I know she's seriously reviewed it, and there's a good chance this is going to work. And so it's worth the gamble because it's not as much of a risk as if you're just like, ooh, this looks fun. Let's follow this little squirrel over here. So
Right. And I guess, you know, we got out of debt. We worked so hard to save that money. So like, I think I had a little bit of faith that like when she took it out of the bank account and started advertising with it, like it's like taking it to the casino. Now that's a bad analogy. Not taking it to the casino.
Although
You are going
kind
to
of like
jail.
gambling.
I'm going to jail. Send me. Let me check out early.
No
from the
longer
interview.
allowed on here.
But basically, like, I think, you know, she worked hard for that money too. Like, she watched kids. Like, she came down and helped me work in the business. Like, it wasn't just my money; it was hers, and we worked hard for it. So, like, when it actually had to get spent on advertising, she didn't just like spend it all. I think she kind of like hung on to it a little bit and tried to play it cautious.
I would
in case
never
things
have
didn't work.
continued if I wasn't seeing it come back
The return,
in.
right?
yeah.
So if it wasn't coming back in, I would not have just kept
You
spending.
know, she didn't put it all on like Black 13 and let the roulette table go. Like,
Yeah, so
and
Ethan
it
is-
worked.
Does Michelle go to the casino with your book money there? No.
No, but this is, I mean, obviously this is serious subject, one that we've kind of gone round and round a bit on this, but we've tried to learn to live off what I've had, and then kind of what Michelle has.
Bonus.
Well, and you know, we're not totally out of debt either, and so
No.
we're still working through a lot of that, and a lot of what Michelle goes to helping us dig out of what we've done to ourselves, and so we've tried to scale back as much as possible, but you know, definitely a serious subject that we've kind of gone round and round with, and probably up until this point, Michelle probably hasn't been able to do a lot of advertising because we're just trying to still dig out of holes that we've, you know, put ourselves in. So
Yeah, and you know, it's always hard because when you invest in something like writing and ads, the payout doesn't come until like, you know, at least 2 months later. So if I spend, you know, $1,000 on ads this month, it may pay off really well for me, but I'm not going to see that money until 2 months down the road. So that's something that you just really have to take into account is when that money is going to be coming back in, because basically, if you wanted to set up a consistent flow of advertising, you'd have to have enough money to cover yourself for 3 months without seeing any of it coming back in before you can start reinvesting some of that money. And so, you know, there's some definite considerations to take into account. And then, you know, there's always these things that I want to do. I want to start investing more in audiobooks. I want to start investing in translations. I want to start, but all of this takes money up front. And so it's something that I need someone to bounce ideas off of and somebody to say, you know, I don't think this is a great time, or yeah, go for it. If you feel confident this will pay off, then, you know, I trust you, you know what you're doing, you know, and sometimes it's, you know, it's just good to have somebody who's willing to have those conversations with you and help make those decisions.
So Jared, was this a difficult thing for you? I mean, you talked about taking a year off of work and having Judy focusing on her writing. Were there some tense financial discussions when she needed to invest or do some things with her writing?
Usually goes the other way. Judy's the miserly one, and I'm the one who likes to throw money at everything that comes along.
Oh, okay.
So we've definitely made lots of stupid, we as in me, and she's like, okay, whatever, financial decisions in our marriage. So pretty much any time she wants money for anything, I'm like, you never ask for money. Whatever you want is you probably really need it because you don't spend money on anything else. So that's how it works for us. She's always pulling the reins back on me though, because it's important. Otherwise we wouldn't have any money.
Yeah, very true. So Liz asked us a question and wants to know if we started supporting our wives more when we realized that what they were doing wasn't just a hobby, but that it actually was becoming a business. And Liz is saying her husband wants to be more supportive of her, but struggles with that a little bit. What advice would you guys have for Liz's husband?
And I saw her question on Facebook, and she was also specifically kind of looking towards business kinds of support too, not just like, you know, emotional or encouragement kind of things. So like Ethan financially has supported me by taking the weight of our family finances for a long time, to, you know, carry it all himself for years and years and years. And a lot of that was me being a stay-at-home mom, but there was also a point where, you know, it became, you know, difficult. There were financial lean years where it would have been good to say, hey, you know, you should go get a job, or like we can't quite cover things. So he's really like stood up and made things happen through the years. And then there came a point where we were discussing, okay, the youngest child is going to start kindergarten in 3 years. What's going to happen after that when no kids are home anymore? And we just had a very good conversation about, he's like, I would love for you to continue to do this, but our family could really use some extra income. So can you get to where you can make this amount by the time Heidi starts school? And that was a pivotal moment for me, because that was when I said, okay, I need to make this happen. And if we hadn't had that really concrete number that we decided between us, I probably wouldn't have pushed myself as hard as I did. And so sometimes the support comes in just being real, just being honest and sitting down and making a plan together, and then doing everything you can as a couple to make that happen. So after we made that goal, the next time period was Ethan's support, you know, was like, yeah, do this, you know, make this happen, because I want you to succeed in becoming a full-time author. So what can we do to get to this goal that we've made together? So that was important for us.
And I say we do the same thing too. We talk about numbers and what's our goal for the year? What's our 5-year goal? How does this play out? But we also have those discussions and looking at the trends, and we know that Amazon can change an algorithm, and you can have been writing at a $5,000 a month level, and then you drop to $3,000 a month, and then you have to look at what's the current thing you need to do to fiddle with Amazon to make things work. And so I think that's probably one of the most important things that I've been able to do in being supportive, is realizing when things take a dip, yeah, not a lot of fun, but it's not anybody's fault. A lot of times it's just how the wave rides. Like when you choose to put out your book on Amazon Prime Day and everybody's looking at beds and coffee pots and they're not looking at books, then, you know, next year you'll do it differently. But it was a learning experience. And so just being supportive of learning and being supportive of the ebb and flow and those things that happen.
And he does my taxes.
Yeah. Jared, how about for you?
I think whenever she wants to go to a writing conference or something like that, or a retreat, we try to make it happen. And sometimes that it requires days off work. Hasn't really yet. I've had to take maybe 1 or 2 days off for that in the past. But I think one of the biggest ways I can support her, I guess, the question was more about business stuff, but I think a lot of times I'm just a sounding board. She can just talk to me. We're driving somewhere. Hey, can I talk about my book? I got this. This is my idea. Here's an idea. What do you think? And I'll give honest feedback. And I mean, I try to be tactful and stuff and give good feedback. But I think those are a couple of the ways that I support Judy the most.
Yeah, helps me figure out things that are not going so great in my stories. And even sometimes just talking it out, even if he doesn't have the ideas, even just having someone to talk to helps me just think it all through and come up with the things that I need.
Yeah.
I guess another way also is on Thursday evenings when the writing gals are doing their YouTube thing, I make sure all the kids are in bed and they don't come down here for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear them upstairs right now because he's not there. So they're all still doing whatever they're doing. So
How about for you, Sean?
I'm gonna be honest. I really struggle with this question. Like, I don't know if it just the way it's worded, or just like I'm not like some sort of sociopath, can't connect with other people on this level. But like, I guess I'm really confused because like I feel like, why wouldn't you support your wife? Like, you got married to her, like, why wouldn't you support her? And I kind of keep thinking like, well, if she told you she wanted to do something like be like a kindergarten teacher that paid her like absolutely almost no money, but that's what she really loved, like, would you tell her no? And I guess I really struggle with that. And like, I keep thinking like, oh, you know, that like that, not analogy, what's the right word I'm looking for? That scenario, like, would you marry like the guy you kind of love who's super rich, or would you marry the guy you super love but is just dirt poor? And would you be dirt
Sounds
poor
like
with
a
him?
romance novel.
Yeah, a romance novel. No. And so I
Is that
kind
a
of think about
trope?
like, yeah, no.
Rags to riches.
Rags to riches. No. So what I was thinking, like, well, would you love your wife enough to go backwards with her financially? Like, if she came to you and said, you know, I really love writing. I've been doing this as a hobby. I know I'm not making a ton of money, but it's growing slowly, and I believe, you know, maybe in years it could, and I want to do this full time. But we live in this house and it's too big, or we have 2 cars. You know, dear, I know this is crazy, but if I could prove to you, would you be willing for us to go backwards financially for a year or two? Could we go down to 1 car, or could we sell our house and move to something smaller we can afford, so I can be a full-time writer? And I know that sounds crazy, but like, if you work it backwards, to me in my brain it makes sense. Like, now, if you don't want to say divorce your spouse, but I'd be like, you would hate your spouse forever if she came to you and was like, be poor with me, let's sell our house and sell the 2nd car, and please get rid of your motorcycle. And you do that, and she writes for you, and I'm not going to get rich, I quit, I hate it. I would want to wring her neck. I wouldn't do it because I'm not a murderer, but I'm just keeping it real.
Going to jail.
I'm
He
keeping
was
it real.
going to jail.
I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. Like, you love your. I'm gonna write a thriller. Okay, maybe that's no.
He's very
So
passionate.
what I'm saying is like, you can't guarantee your spouse you're gonna make more money, but you can tell them how much it means to you, and perhaps ask them in a loving way to say, like, can we make this work somehow? And maybe that means being a little poorer for a while. And if they're not supportive, maybe that's, you know, couples therapy. I don't know. Anyway, whatever.
I will say it
Throw
like,
my opinion away.
it is harder, I guess, maybe to be supportive when you're not making anything off of the money. But I have noticed that it's gotten a little easier maybe to be more supportive when we see that the money is coming in, because you see there's actually hope for this time that you're spending somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think the beginning parts is based on us. So, like, as the writer, it's our job to make sure, one, that it's a viable thing that we're going to continue doing and we want to do, and then we do the research that this is how we can make money, and I'm doing everything that I can to make money. And then you approach your spouse and say, okay, let's take this leap together.
Yeah, you gotta help settle their worries. They're not a writer. They don't know. They just only can go off what you tell them.
Charge in there, Ethan.
No, I think
Sorry.
I think part of her question was, do we find it easier to support our wives when they make more money? And I think that's an interesting question. I think the natural person inside of us would say, yeah, it's probably easier. And Judy touched on that. You know, whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. I think there are different levels of support. I think initially, if it's kind of a hobby and it's not making a lot of money, it could be, and it's taking a lot of time, I think it could be frustrating for a husband or the spouse of a writer. So I think naturally it becomes easier over time as you see the fruits of the labor come to fruition. Yeah. I mean, to answer her question honestly, I think it does become a little easier over time to be a little more supportive. Yes.
So
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, back before I was able to make money writing, you know, the support came in terms of, hey, I get that you need some time for yourself to go do this
Yeah, it's
thing.
different kinds of support.
And so,
I think.
hey, I'll take the kids on Saturday and you go to the library and write. You know, where now the support isn't like, okay, you have a pre-order deadline and I get it. You need to be full on this week to get this book launched. And that's going to be hard, but we'll get through it for a week. And so the support changes in scale and in, you know, what's involved. But some funny things, you know, he's my geography person now because I've misplaced Tampa and a whole ocean.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, wow.
so that one was an accident.
I would have done it too, Michelle. Don't worry.
I was writing a
She didn't ask me. So
That's right. But he's a geography major, actually, funny enough. And so he said that anytime I have any geography, anything, anywhere, I have to run it by him first because I had a meltdown over a review one time.
She does that with me when she's writing about cars. She'll come and say, what kind of car would this character have? What kind of car would that character have? I totally nail it for her. Read her books. The cars are perfect, I'm sure.
He's my person too.
Yeah.
He's
So,
my sports guy.
The discussion we've been having reminds me of Heather's question. She said, were any of you skeptical when your wife wanted to make this a full-time career instead of a hobby? What convinced you to see it differently? What would you say to other husbands who might be frustrated with the amount of time their wife is spending writing when she hasn't had it start to pay off yet? And the part that stands out to me from that is when she said, what convinced you to see it differently? And when Ethan was kind of talking about, is it the fact it was making money that made it see us differently? Or was there something else that was that aha moment for us? Maybe answer to that and say, was it the money that was your aha moment, or was there something different?
I can go first.
Yeah.
Or Ethan go. No, Ethan, you go. I think for us, it started making money, and I was working full time at the time, and so her money was like making about as much as I was making at my job, and then that's when I had to walk away from the job I was in, and so we're kind of like forced to it's either I go look for a job right now, or we do the stay-at-home dad thing and you do it. And so we're kind of like, it wasn't like forced upon us, but it made a real easy step into that realm, I guess. And so it was like, well, I'm convinced because we're making enough to pay all the bills, and let's just see if we can keep going with it. I'm not gonna lie and say that it wasn't frustrating in the beginning. 5 years before the first one was published, and consistently writing like most evenings and weekends and stuff was kind of rough. It's like, hey, let's watch a movie. No, I'm on a roll, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, see ya. Like, I guess I'll do something else or watch a movie by myself alone. So I'm not gonna lie. There was some times that were kind of frustrating, and still, there's still frustrating times too. It's like, come on, let's go do something, and but she's got deadlines or whatever, and that's kind of when the supportive thing. Okay, well, I guess right now she needs me to be supportive of her instead of romantic or whatever, and so
yeah, and just I touched on some of this a little bit before, but also kind of maybe what outside of the financial piece of it, I think something else that probably changed for me and that clicked was just to see Michelle's commitment to the whole thing. That kind of, I'm a skeptical person, would you say?
Just slightly.
Yeah, just slightly, in many regards. And so, there's always that skepticism, like this is never going to work. And then when it started to work a little bit, and then to see Michelle, hunker down and hammer things out, and her commitment to it, that also changed. Outside, there's the financial piece, yes, the money started coming in, but then just seeing the commitment that this is her dream, she is going to go after it, and I'm not going to doubt her anymore. This is going to work. And so, that's kind of another thing that clicked for me.
Sean, what was your shift point?
I'll be honest. Her making money, I wouldn't say super early on, but like making like an adequate amount of money to like be like, hey, we should respect this. We're not going to get rich, but like, hey, better than working at Walmart, and you're doing something you love. So I had to be supportive, and she never demanded so much time that it was like a real burden for me to perform my job. But then as things started to grow, it got interesting because my business, I work from home, I work for myself. We got like one guy I pay who works with me, and to scale my business would be very difficult. I would have to get a storefront, more equipment, insurance. Like my costs would go up. Obviously, like the amount of sales and volume I do would go up too. But like for the amount of work I'd put in, I wouldn't get as much out. Whereas for her, it was like, well, I just write another book, or spend a couple more hours working hard. Not just write another book, but I work a little harder, and I can earn some more money. And so for me, it was like, well, if we want to keep moving forward, like it makes sense that, you know, she gets more of the family's time or energy.
And I think,
go ahead.
I think for me also though, because seeing that ability as a writer or that passion that you have for it, at some point as a writer though, you have to realize that your family is sacrificing and that your husband's sacrificing, and you have to close your computer and you have to walk out of your office and shut the door, and you have to be done for the day, and you have to be okay with that. Like I could literally probably work all day, every day on stuff, but I can't. I have a family and I have a husband, and I can't just abandon him at dinner time, which is like the prime time where I'm like, I'm just going to go write. And he's like, stop leaving me at dinner time. But like, I have to be okay with that. And I think, you know, because you said, you kind of touched something in that question was, it was like where we want to spend all of our time writing. And I think you're so passionate about it, and that's great, but you have to be able to find that balance as a writer between my family life and my writing life. And I've seen a lot of people starting to burn out, and I'm worried because they don't have that balance. They work from when they wake up to when they go to bed. They don't have that separation where they're like, you know what, I'm going to go take my son to his baseball game, or I'm going to spend time with my husband, or I'm going to, you know, play with my daughter. And we need to make sure that we're doing that as well, because there's always going to be money to be made. And you're probably never going to tap a well completely and drain it. So you have to be okay with just walking away. So some of it does lay on our shoulders as writers to separate ourselves.
I guess I was going to say, I think the thing that makes it easiest for me, and might be for some other people, maybe not, but like, you know, back to the poor kindergartner teacher thing. Like if you could be a poor writer and love your job, like hopefully that'll be good enough for your spouse. Because if you said, hey, I absolutely love working in an old folks home and taking care of the elderly, I feel like it's my calling. Yeah, I don't make very much money, but I love to do it. I'm making a difference. Hopefully your spouse would be on board with that. And it's tough when you're just writing, you know, and just putting out books and not making any money. But if you could make a small amount of money, find a way to be poor and do it, I feel like there's a lot more, I guess, negotiating power or ability to ask for support from your loved one than just, hey, I'm working all the time, but it hasn't turned into anything yet. And I don't know how to bridge that gap from being like destitute to poor, but that would be my goal, I guess, if I were to try to convince, if I was a writer and Amy was the one printing.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that happened that made me see it differently was when Victorine had the agent contact her and say, congratulations for making the New York Times bestseller list. And, you know, recognizing that this fundamentally changes things, right? For the rest of her life, she's got New York Times bestselling author attached to her name. But the thing that it more importantly did for me than looking at her writing differently is it made me reflect on her as a business person and an author. Because when she wrote that first book and it was time to go ahead and improve it, and she wanted to put her chapters up on Critique Circle, I was like, are you sure you want to do that? What if somebody steals it? You know, I'm all worried about that. And then when she came to me and she said, you know, I've been doing some research and I think I need to change my cover. I think the cover is one of the reasons my book isn't selling. I'm like, I love your cover. Why? You just shouldn't let other people talk you into another cover. But, you know, we talked it through and she did it. And then, you know, she started talking to this guy who was saying, put your book at 99 cents. It's going to be a really good idea. I'm like, you got to be out of your mind. If you can get $2.99 or $3.99 out of the thing, why would you put it at 99 cents? And she talked me through it. She did it. And then, boom, here we are with the agent saying congratulations. And so it helped me realize that I needed to give some respect to the research that she was doing, the thoughtfulness that she was putting into the decisions that she was making. And, you know, because we had been side by side in our other business and we were making these decisions together on all of these things, and we both knew our industry really well, pretty equally. I needed to step back and say, I am no longer the smartest person in the room when it comes to the industry that she's choosing to work in, and to trust her instincts and trust her judgment. And that has paid off over the years since. So that was probably my big aha moment and my big shift point. Definitely. Stephanie asks a question that kind of goes along with some of the things we've been talking about. She said, what kept you supportive during the lean years other than your love for your wives? Being an author can be hard and time consuming, and sometimes the payout isn't that great. What is it that kept you being positive? And I guess the thing that kept me being positive is I just don't get too worried about life. You know, things are going to happen that I can control, and I try to make great decisions. And things are going to happen that are out of my control that are going to affect my life. And you know, we're sitting great right now. We've been poor before. If we're poor again, hey, I know how to do that. You know, we've been there. And so I think that that's just the key of being positive. Make the best decisions you can with the things you can control. And when things happen that you can't control, make the best decisions to navigate through there, and life's going to be happy.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say ditto to that, Charles, because that's pretty much how I feel like I do things around here too. Just kind of like, well, right now is a harder time. There's better times. It is what it is, and you just gotta make the best of the situation. So, nothing more to add.
He's a lot better at that than I am.
Yeah, Sean or Ethan,
I think for
how do you
us,
stay positive?
I think for us, like for the lean times, like we haven't quite hit that yet because I'm only in my second year and things have been progressing higher in terms of writing. But from what I'm seeing other authors are experiencing, you know, you hear how these people are making these incredible incomes per month, and yet they talk about how worried they are or how poor they feel they are, and like they burn out and they need to take a break, and then they, you know, and they're, how am I going to live without this money that I had? So I think for Sean and I, it's always been, okay, you know, obviously we went from poor and to now we have more, but you know, we're putting money in retirement and we're making sure we're putting money in a savings account. We're making sure we're doing all these things. So I think for us, it's more learning to live wisely on what we have when we have surplus, so that when we have less, we're not feeling that, you know, we're not like, oh, now we're making X amount of money per month, let's go buy 2 brand new cars and all these other things. You know, you have to be mindful of that. It's not always going to be coming in, and then to spend your money wisely, I think, for us. And then, yeah, because then I'm guessing
staying positive. Right?
Yeah,
I think for me, like, I just try to put myself in her shoes. Like, if there was something I really cared about and maybe it wasn't making a lot of money or not yet, like, hopefully she'd give me the benefit of the doubt and let me to do it. Like, it's hard because like personalities are so different. Like, and so what's easy
well, you
for
get
me
stressed out too, and I'm like, this month might not be as high a month as other months have been, and he's like, oh, okay, you know, and that kind of that fear comes in, you know, like, how do you I mean, especially when you have such high, because like we talk about this all the time, we're like, oh, it's going to be another low month, but if I had this month last year, I think it was a great month. You know, it's just your perspective changes, and sometimes you have to come back and be like, it's still really great. Even your low is still really great. You know, you would have like done anything you could a year ago to have this income come in. So I think, and for your spouses, it's hard too, because they see this money coming in, and they're like, okay, yes, more time, I'll give you more time. And then they're like, wait a minute, now that money's not coming in.
Where's my
now I'm
money?
having to break up this fight. Yeah.
Where's my fishing
I had to
boat?
break up this fight so
you promised
could
me. No. I think like I know this is horrible to say, but like I feel like if your marriage is doing pretty good and like you feel really connected to your spouse and there's a lot of love and trust there, it makes it easier to weather the storm when the finances aren't great or things are hard. And like if things are financially hard and like maybe you guys are strained or a little disconnected, like it can be harder to like have that extra charity or the extra love. And I'm not perfect at it. Like I'm like uber bipolar, not literally, but figuratively. And like, so it could be tough sometimes, but I try to go back on that. And like, so I was, before I did printing, like I was going to be in law enforcement and I got 9 speeding tickets. I don't know too many cops with 9 speeding tickets. And so like, Amy's like, what do you mean you sped again? Are you stupid? Like, I don't know. So so she was supportive. She was supportive. And like, and
sounds
she gave
like
me
it.
a lot of grace. Yeah. A lot of grace over the
This goes
years.
back to the stupid money. Remember you paid stupid money to do something? Now this is my stupid money.
Or you like become an appraiser for like $1,000 and you miss the test by like 1% and then decide not to restudy because you just decided you didn't want to do it. And your wife's like, that's $1,000 and we're poor. So
Well,
give
that's-
your wife a lot of grace because she gives you grace, and hopefully you make it through together.
That's kind of an interesting point that I was going to bring up, is that sometimes the support that I get from Ethan is not like, yeah, you can do it, or I've got your back, or let's do this. Sometimes it's like, Michelle, you need to make better choices. And that's hard. It's hard for me to hear. And sometimes I don't respond the way I should to it. But he's my checkpoint where he's like, Michelle, you need to put this down, you need to put this away. You have other responsibilities, you have other things that, you don't have your balance right. You've let your priorities get a little bit out of whack, or things need to shift. And sometimes that makes me really frustrated and mad. And sometimes, I just need to cool off and say, you know what, he's right. So if I didn't have somebody who is willing to have those hard conversations with me, then I think that my family would suffer a lot more. And I think I'd burn out a lot more too. And, I think especially for the four of us, since we have this platform as the Writing Gals, it just adds one more thing, because a lot of the time I'm on my phone or on my computer and I'm not even writing, I'm doing something for our Facebook group, or I'm, doing all these other things. And sometimes writing is brainstorming, sometimes it's researching, sometimes it's, editing and not actually writing. And so it can just take over. You can be having some really good idea when you should be washing the dishes or something. And, so it's important to have somebody to help me constantly do that check on myself. And I don't do that very well. I don't self-check very well. And so that's a, very difficult way that he supports me.
Yeah, and this I struggle a little bit with this question. I would say for us, early on my supportive part was, we have 4 children who are all crazy in their own right, and things are crazy in our household, and they still are. But when they were younger, it was even crazier. But I think just supporting her and letting her have the outlet of taking an hour or 2 hours to feed her creative side and to put something on paper and to do something early on, even though there wasn't a lot of money making at that time. My salary was sufficient to support our family, and we, not to say that we always have lived within our means, but we've had enough to support the family, and we've been kind of in the same home for a long time, and things have been kind of steady. But I think early on, when there's not a lot of money involved, I think it's just allowing her to have that time. I'll take the kids to the park for an hour, or we'll go to the movies, or I'll take them out to eat, or something like that, just to give her time by herself alone to be able to write and work on her craft. And that's what will make you better. That's what's made her better. So,
yeah. All right. Nicole has a fun question for us here. She's asking if we as the husbands have ever felt jealous about our wives' work and how that takes attention away from us. And if we did have problems with that, how did we come to be okay with it, assuming that we have become okay with it? So what's it like playing second fiddle there, man?
I love it. I have the celebrity wife here, and I'm just kind of, I'm just the same dude that I always was, and just kind of in the background. I'm totally fine with that. I don't, anymore that she would get jealous of me for the work that I do. I would never be, again, I've said it before. This is her dream. I truly, truly respect people who can live their dreams out, because it's few and far between the people that can do that. And there's no way that I would, feel jealous of that or anything, or let those thoughts come into my mind. I love it, and I just say keep it coming.
Yeah. Jared, how about for you?
My answer is yes. I have felt jealous at times. And then how do you deal with it? It's just she's working on something or is busy, and there's times where she's wanting to watch movies and I've been busy doing something, and so it's just like it's part of relationship. You kind of both just have to meet in the middle, and sometimes I don't know. Sometimes things just don't work out how you plan.
And so, like, he also has to make his needs known, and then I can realize that I'm spending too much time with my books instead of him, and I can try to fix that. So
Yeah. I say for me, I haven't really felt jealousy. Maybe the opposite emotion that isn't good either is pride. Like, ooh, look who picked me, you know? It's like, this amazing creature has picked me. And so, I don't know, it makes me feel good. How about
And
for
you said you're
Sean?
not the romantic, Charles.
That's true. I have claimed that, yes. Sean, how deep does the jealousy go? Are you going to end up in jail
Ooh,
with this
it's
question
it's
too?
deep. It's like Scarlet. No, I don't know if jealousy is the right word. Yeah, sometimes like when I'm down, like she'll be like, oh, I've heard her complain or vent about how tough writing can be. I'm like, whatever. You get paid good money and you love your job. Shut your face. You can go down in the office where it's freezing cold in the winter in Minnesota and my feet are cold and miserable and I'm not a desk person, but somehow I ended up at a desk job. I hate it, but I'm proud of her. Like I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like I'm really happy that she's doing something she loves. I think one aspect of writing that I'm not the most in love with is you talk about like refilling the creative well. Amy loves to watch TV late at night. And we'll be in bed and she'll be watching TV and I'm like ready to sleep and we'll like, are you done? Let's turn off Downton Abbey or whatever. Let's go to sleep. And she's like, no, one more episode. So I'm like, okay, trying to sleep. And then she's like, are you sleeping? Stay up and watch with me. I love when you watch with me. And then she falls asleep and I try to turn the TV off. And she's like, no, I like when you watch and I hear you laugh. Or whatever. I'm like, no, I didn't even want to watch this. I'm ready for bed.
I'm like, stay up and watch it while I
That's
sleep next to
amazing.
you.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even like romance. This is stupid. What are we doing here?
Oh my goodness.
But I'll have to say things have gotten better in the Meyer household. She started watching those Netflix Korean dramas, and it's all like nonsensical, non-English.
Those
and
have been coming up on my Facebook, and I have to admit, I'm watching
sleep,
these
man.
things.
It's
They're
awesome.
like addicting. I don't know.
Yeah, they're good.
I'm not
I don't
like
get
that.
it,
If you
but I gotta
fall
watch
asleep
it.
even for like 4 minutes, you wake up and you have no clue what's
It's
going
so
on.
easy not to be interested. They don't even speak English, so I just fall right asleep. So that's her
So
compromise.
Sean's jealous of the TV is really what he's trying
Yeah,
to say.
it gets all the attention and not me.
All
And
right.
if it's a really good romance, she'll want to snuggle with me. I'm like, I'm the same guy before you watch this potato peel movie on Netflix. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm the same guy. You must
Yeah.
feel more romantic, but I'm the same guy. But anyway,
It helps us remember why we love our husbands. So
Oh.
that's it. Something in the movie reminds her of me.
Yeah.
That's it.
yeah.
So we're to the
Like,
last
I
question that
remember
was
being
put in before the broadcast here by Amanda, and for me, this may tie into the first question from Stephanie that we looked at. But Amanda asked, "Do we as husbands ever wonder if our wives are writing what they're familiar with? Like, is that kiss scene because of what happened the night before, or are we worrying that the things our wives are writing is what they're fantasizing about or what they're wishing for or what we lack?" And so Stephanie's original question, have you read what your wife writes? Maybe I'm not reading what my wife writes because I'm afraid she's thinking about, Sully from Medicine Woman show with his shirt off instead of me.
With the
And so
tomahawk.
I don't want to write. We don't want to read that. But I think I probably have given her fair share of tingle kisses, and I hope that some of what's in her writing comes from our relationship. But I don't know. That's a good question. What do you guys think? Do you worry that the guys on the page may be your competition, or you think it's recounting your love life?
Ethan gets
I'm
asked
sure-
that at work all the time.
Yeah, I get made fun of at work because Michelle, because of am I the cover? Is her? Am I the inspiration for her covers and all these salty things? No, I get made fun of a lot, but it's that. I'm romantic, but I wouldn't say that your writing is based on what.
He's in
What
my
our
books like
life is.
piecemeal. Like none
Yeah.
of my heroes are all him, but they all have pieces of him. But I've told this on here before. Do you remember the time that I came to you and I said, "Hey, I'm trying to write a kiss scene and I just need to practice something so I can figure out
Yeah, that
like
was
how
weird.
to word it."
And he,
That's how I'll support your.
that was weird, right?
No
Ethan.
way.
He was like,
No.
no.
Oh,
She was freaking out
No, that's-
completely.
Never
That's
throw away an
funny.
opportunity.
I'm like, hey,
Because
dude,
Victorine came to me and she's like,
So now if I need to do some research, I just don't tell him that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
ah.
He's always
Victorine
thinking
came to me one time and said, I wonder what it's like to fire a gun.
Yeah.
Wonder what it feels like when that gun goes off in your hand. She's never practiced, at least I don't think she's ever practiced the kiss. But I'm with you, Ethan, with the whole cover thing. It's like, okay, look at me and look at the cover. Maybe if I dropped 10 or 70 pounds and got a tan, maybe that's me.
Yeah,
But,
Yeah, that's
that
why
stock photo isn't Big Daddy. So. Oh.
Well, and the hours we have to spend looking through stock photos for copies that are good looking enough for our covers. An
Yeah.
unfortunate side of the job. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, isn't it?
I mean, Sean fits the bill. He's got the beard. I'm like, does everybody have to have a beard?
Right?
I mean, come on.
No, I shaved it. Amy scolds me. She's like, I like your beard. I'm like, do you not like my real face? Why do I have to cover it every time I shave? I missed your beard. Someone
he
that
looks so young. Once he shaves, I look like I'm
I'm
robbing the
my-
cradle or something.
my face has just gotten fatter over the last 10 years. I can't
Oh,
see John
You look
Lane.
better with a beard.
Yeah, just cover it all up. Just grow it out.
Judy's
No,
the
to
opposite.
To answer the question, I'm not a really romantic person. Maybe not from like lack of trying, but I missed the boat plenty of times. So I'm sure it's not based on me. But my wife's romantic at heart. I'm like, hey, train me. You want me to tell you how to? Tell me what you want me to say, and I'll say it. Like, it's not really romantic, but I'm willing.
He did let me practice kisses on him, though.
Yeah, of course, but that's self-serving. So
Well, we're
don't
guys.
say no to that.
You're
Unless
not
you're
gonna have
Ethan,
a
then you
hard
say no.
time.
Ethan, don't say no.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't say no next time.
Yeah.
So, Jared, are we seeing you when we read Judy's books, or are we seeing her fantasies?
Because Judy is the steamier one of all of us.
Oh.
She writes those kiss scenes like no one else, right?
That's what I've heard. She's got the reputation.
Jared's doing some right.
Maybe I don't know. I haven't read the kiss scenes really now, so I guess I just leave it a mystery by not reading it.
Yeah. All right, excellent. So, do we have time for any of the online questions that have been coming, or have we
We have a
used up
couple
all?
online questions.
All right.
Let's see. Let me find a good one. Oops.
All right.
Sorry, I was not ready.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
All
Do you want
right.
to read that one?
So, do the guys understand about flow? How difficult is it to get back in the flow after disruption? And I would say, yeah, I do understand that. When we have a family reunion, when we have things like that, it does take time for her to kind of restart her creative juices. And so I try to respect the fact that if she can get, even 1,000 words a day out to keep that going, that it's worth the time. So, maybe going bowling waits another night or whatever, just so she can keep in the groove, because it is hard to restart.
Ask your question, Ethan.
I don't know what do you mean by flow?
So apparently he doesn't know about flow.
No, he doesn't know about flow. So
Writing the
flow,
words, getting in a scene,
Getting
immersing yourself.
I don't know what
getting
you're
in
talking
the
about.
zone, and
Oh.
so like having uninterrupted time, like once the
Oh.
story starts jiving for
Yeah.
you, being able to just like keep
It's
going.
like
with
you get in the flow of watching a sports thing
I do.
going,
You're right.
you do not want to be interrupted.
That's what you're talking about? Okay.
Don't ask you to take out the
Groove.
trash in the fourth
groove,
quarter.
as it were. You get in the groove.
That's
The
right.
groove,
Yes.
that's what I was thinking.
I don't know. Do you ever?
Do I ever get in the flow?
I mean, no,
Not
I'm sure you
really
do. But
recently.
do you tell me like, Ethan, I'm in a groove here, or flow, whatever you guys want to call it?
No.
I need some time to finish this out.
There have been times that I said, let me just get 50 more words. And,
Okay, yeah,
and then you're like, have you gotten 50 more words yet? And I'm like, no, I haven't. How long does it take to
Yeah,
type
'cause
50 words?
Because you probably didn't mean 50. You probably meant more like 1,500 or something.
So
Yeah.
She's embellishing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go run to the store. Sean's like,
Yeah.
stop saying you're gonna go run to the store because that's not true at
I
all.
hate that.
More
Like, you're gonna
words.
be gone for an hour. Be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the tricky part is that I do notice that when my interruptions are minimized, I'm able to get into that good flow pattern really easily, and that should be happening during my open day now. And I talked to Ethan. I said, I think going forward, I'm going to have to turn off my cell phone. I'm going to have to silence my phone, turn off my internet. Like, are you okay with me being unavailable for a couple of hours so that I don't get interrupted? And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever you need. You know, if it's an emergency, I'm 5 minutes away and I can get to you. Now the question is like my mom and my sisters and like all these other people. And so,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, because I probably don't bug you near as much as they do. Today.
Well, we used to have a thing where she'd be, it's time to go for a drive, and I would know she needs to write. Now, rocket scientists that we are, we got unlimited data. So she can still get on the internet when we're out driving around. So that used to solve the problem, but that's gone now. So
First world problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, looks like you have another one queued up there. Linda Washington is asking us, are the husbands involved in the business side of writing? Sometimes spouses get involved that way. And yeah, in fact, the Writing Gals have entrusted me to kind of be the Writing Gals manager, and I am knee deep in planning that first Writing Gals conference that's coming in August of 2020. We are going to be able to announce, I would think, within a couple of weeks what the venue is going to be. And we're pretty excited about the location. So hopefully, if nothing happens to jinx that, we'll be announcing that in a couple of weeks, and we're excited about that. And you know, like I mentioned earlier, we've been self-employed for a long time and kind of run those businesses together. And I've let Victorine kind of be the brains of the thing, and I'm the numbers guy and the paperwork guy, and that's worked out really well for us.
Yeah,
I would say that I'm not involved at this point. I'd like to be. In fact, I went to Michelle maybe a couple months ago and said, "Hey, is there something that I can do that would help you make my salary so that I could quit my job?" I mean, I would love to. You know, there's all the insurance and all the benefits that that come into play as well. But yeah, I would love to be more involved in that side of it. Not that I'm a major business guy, but I would
you
love
do
to
reports all day.
but
You
I
should do
do-
them for me.
Yeah, so I would love to be more involved. But up until this point, I haven't been. No.
So the thing is that when we were at NINC and various other places, I'm meeting more and more authors who have husband and wife teams, where one or the other of them is the creative and one of them is the numbers person. And I really want to get us into that space as soon as he feels, because he's got a lot on his plate, and so it'd be like adding one more thing that he had to do. But as soon as he's ready, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right.
I wish Sean was, but he is not. He is not. If you need something moved, he's like lifting furniture and carrying it out of the house. I'll be like, move that couch, and he'll get it out by himself. But when it comes to numbers, he's just. We were talking about it yesterday because we got a new computer. And I'm like, I just really wish you were more techie. And he looked at me like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I wish you were more techie. He's like, well, I wish you cooked better. And I was like, touche, okay.
Now this
I'm
is a
not the
good
greatest
lesson.
cook.
If we've got some teenage girls listening, marry the nerd. The numbers guy is going to help you.
Yeah, because I'm like, I have no clue how to set up my new computer, and you don't either. So it's not helping either of us.
No.
But I wish he was sort of, but also not, because I kind of like that he gets out of my way. Just let me figure it out on my own.
Yeah. So for me, Judy's asked a couple of times if I would be her personal assistant and set up all her email things and whatever, and I have zero interest in doing that. Nothing. I'm totally like Sean. I'm like, I'll move the furniture around. I'll do everything else, but that is something I do not want to do. Like, you do not want me doing that. Like, even if I did it, you wouldn't want me to do it.
And I like having control over everything too. I'd probably be like checking on everything he did anyway. So
Yes, you would.
I'm kind of super curious about all this furniture moving that goes on at your houses.
Yeah.
I move a lot of furniture. He had knee surgery, and I was having to move it. But I had a 12-year-old who can now lift stuff because I was like, "Come on, Lucas, we're getting this furniture out of here." But normally I'd be like, "Sean, move it," and then it'd be gone. Like he just does it.
Looks like you've got another one highlighted.
All
ready to
right.
go
With
here.
this question, we already answered, but I wanted to acknowledge it. Crafty Mama wants to know if we ever use our spouse as research for kissing scenes, and we kind of talked about that already.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
I've done it.
All right.
That's why they're so good, everyone.
I know.
All right, Deidre Ann Anderson. Jared, you said when Judy first started, you helped her with editing. Were there ever days that Jared just didn't feel like reading your book? If so, how did you, Judy, get him back into being involved?
So I'll take the first part of that question because it refers to me. Yes, there were definitely days I didn't want to do it because I was giving honest feedback and I felt like I was being attacked, like gunned down for giving feedback. And so, yeah, there are times like, yeah, I don't want to do that today. And sometimes we'd go, a few days or maybe a week and I wouldn't read anything, but then I'd come back and help her out. And then, I mean, after I read through it once, she did tons more editing and stuff and had like more professional people look it over. So it's changed a lot since I read it even, but.
Yeah, so he was technically a beta reader, not an editor. And to get him more interested in doing it, I would like make him popcorn the way he liked it and get him all set up all nice and cozy in the recliner and then hand him the computer and say, please. So, yeah.
I forgot about that. That's funny. You didn't do that.
All right. So Amanda Bailey has been excited about the show here. She said she's been waiting for our answers all night. I hope that she has learned the things she wants to learn. But as we look at winding down here, let's pose a question to the writing gals here. Is there something that you want your viewers to know about your husbands that hasn't organically come out through the questions that have been asked tonight?
He's awesome.
I know. I just married an awesome guy. I think
I was going to say, my husband is not as violent as he comes across on the screen. I think most people, besides Judy and Jared, haven't met him in person, but I can attest that he is not like that at all.
Maybe he's not going to make the next Writing Gals appearance.
What? Ethan?
I say he's not like that at all.
No.
No, he's a teddy bear.
Yeah. And he's very supportive of me, and he always is like, why not let your wife fly? So that's why I am how I am today, because he's helped me. So he's not as violent, I promise you.
He threw you out of the nest
scared.
and you flew.
Exactly. Go, Amy. No.
Anything that the husbands would share?
Ethan does not have an easy job being married to me in a lot of ways, but he puts up with me really, really well. And he makes me a better person. And all the areas that I'm weak, he's strong in, which is amazing. So we can depend on each other. So it's great. It's a very, very helpful team member to have, besides just, and one of the things that's cool about Ethan is he likes to travel. And I'm a hermit in a lot of ways. And so he gets me out to explore the world and see new places. And that really comes through in my writing. A lot of the places that I write about or experiences that I have come because he's dragged me out into the world to have fun. So.
Excellent.
Yeah, ditto.
Anything the husbands would add before we end our broadcast tonight?
Okay, because I have something I want to say.
Go ahead.
So on our Facebook group, I see a lot of questions come in or a lot of posts come in from people who don't have support from their husbands or significant others or their families in general. And it's, you can just feel hurt in their lives, and they just don't know how to keep, going in this really hard career, because it can be really difficult emotionally if you don't have cheerleaders on your side. And we don't have the time or experience to really manage everybody's, struggles. But I would like to say, wherever you are, you do need to find some people to be your cheerleader and to be your support, and continue to work through those relationships and try to get to a place of understanding where each of you can can give more to the other person so that everybody's needs are fulfilled. But in the meantime, reach out to your writing community and find people that can support you where you are. And we understand what other writers are going through and what they need. So reach out. If you're just, kind of a lurker, reach out, build friendships. And sometimes that's what you have to do. So I hope everybody can find somebody in their life to support them on this journey.
Yeah, and I have to say, I am very impressed with how you four have developed the Writing Gals group. I think as I've watched each of you interact with people at conferences or in different ways, you really do try to meet people where they are. You don't judge them. You try to be helpful to them. You try to stay positive. You've developed a group that has this positive atmosphere to it. And, for those people who haven't yet found the person in their community or that writing group that's local, I think you're doing a great service to writers at whatever stage of the career they're in. And you guys deserve a lot of credit for taking time away from writing and the thing that makes you money to starting this platform and reaching out to people and helping people who are in some cases where you were in the very beginning, and maybe in some cases are even further ahead of where you are as professionals. But everybody loves to come together because of this atmosphere that you've created. So kudos to you guys.
Well, thank you.
Well said.
All right. I think we are all done for tonight. So thank you for joining us. And if you haven't yet subscribed, click the subscribe button. And we will continue to plan this conference that's coming up and have more details on our Facebook page. So if you haven't joined our Facebook group, it's the Writing Gals in Facebook. So come on over and join us, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Thanks for
Good
staying.
night.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, thanks for staying up late.
Yeah.
See ya.